What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down some very important information about what happened to NIO in the markets today, because NIO did actually have a very bad piece of news that came out. It actually affected the entire EV sector, especially the Chinese side of it. But then instead of just continuing to crash down, we actually got a really nice bounce. And it looks like this bounce is going to lead to another bullish move. So I'm going to break down what the data is now telling us about NIO, what we're actually seeing in the overall collective market, and also what you should be watching for as a NIO investor based off the data and the other pieces of news coming out. Before I break anything down about this analysis and this stock, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is any could be a free NIO share, a free Tesla share, or a mix of all of them. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 10 days. So check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So what happened to the market today? Why on earth did NIO react the way it did? Just to start us off and give you a reminder, we had some very important economic data and a big piece of news. So let's start off with how the day started. The data came out. Non-farm payrolls were actually lower than expected, which is actually pretty good. We saw a big decrease right here. And then we also did see the unemployment rate a little bit lower than expected. So that wasn't the best thing, but looking at the payrolls, that was pretty good. Then we had the manufacturing PMI lower than expected. This actually helped the market rally. So we had some good data out there. We're still seeing some more weakness in the labor sector. It's not as weak as what we want it to be, but it is showing some weakness, right? That's what the market wanted to see. And the stock market pumped off this news. Now, during the pump, okay, what essentially happened was we had SPY make a very interesting move. Let me actually break this down on the 5 minute. I think that's going to be a little bit better. So what happened was we basically gapped up in the beginning, and then we had this fake sell-off that started us off. And we filled this gap, or I think we came close to doing it, or we actually did it. We filled the gap way down here. I think it doesn't matter. We basically came super close to filling it, if not filled it. And then after that, massive rally as soon as the data came out, like within a minute from it, boom, we saw SPY just continue to fly and fly and fly. And we saw the market just push up very, very beautifully. It was very nice to see. And this is what we're looking like right now in terms of our trend. We're still in this channel. We actually broke out of it, then we came back down in it. So it is technically still existent, and we are still respecting this bear flag like setup. So the real question is, are we going to crash or are we going to continue? We'll have to see that for next week. But we are getting some bullish signals suggesting that if we break out of this, the market could actually squeeze. I want to break down how this could affect NIO. Now, NIO was a little bit different. All right, let's put this side by side with SPY. I'm also going to do a more in-depth analysis of SPY, I guess, tomorrow. I'm not going to do it like right now. But anyways, look at them side by side, okay? On the 5 minutes. Let's switch back to the 5 minute. All right, so on SPY, notice how we had this like gap down. We had this gap up, then we came down, and then we bounced. NIO had this giant gap down and came crashing hard. Then it bounced, and both of them pushed up together, showing, yes, the market does affect how NIO moves compared to the QQQ, right? Super, super similar. QQQ gaps down, it gaps up, then it comes down, then it bounces and pushes up. NIO, giant gap down, comes down, and then it just pushes up after that. And finally, let's compare NIO to Tesla. This is what actually dictated NIO. Tesla, massive gap down off the news, hits 101, then it bounced. It actually turned green after that. NIO followed it, but didn't actually turn green, but it is on a good trend. All right, so why on earth did the market do this? That's because Tesla announced that there are going to be a lot more price cuts coming on 2 of their models in China. That's the second cut in 3 months. Not a good sign. Why? Because it's telling us in China, in the Chinese market, demand is getting destroyed, especially because of what's happening over there. They're having a real estate crisis. They're having many difficulties, especially after those lockdowns. They're on the verge, in my opinion, of entering a very recession like state. It could be even worse than where the US is, it probably is. And even though the data doesn't suggest that, we know that the data is not as credible in that sense, right? So with that happening, we saw another Model 3 cut by 13% and the Model Y cuts by 10%. Huge, huge cuts by Tesla, suggesting that the Chinese market is weak. And this had a negative effect on NIO, on XPeng, on Li Auto, and a negative effect on the sentiment of these consumers, right? And then we're also seeing these news articles about this new Chinese startup getting 152,000 deliveries in 2022, surpassing NIO. Guys, I'm not worried about that. I know the markets maybe they consider things like this, but these articles, these writers have their biases and they're doing what they can to bash NIO. To me, it's just about looking at NIO, how they're improving. That's what matters most to me. Now, from a technical standpoint, NIO got a bounce on its price per ratio. It is still kind of down there, but I do believe this will come down for today and it could bounce maybe going into next Monday because I do think NIO might make a nice move. And we are kind of low in terms of our share price, at least for the time being. Lots of buy ratings and hold ratings are still there. Same data as before. What is this? What is this telling us about NIO? Here's my answer. NIO had this giant gap down. All right. It came crashing down. It was down like 12%. Where did we bounce at? So if you were watching my previous videos, I told everyone, okay, if NIO comes down to fill this gap, we have 9.7. Break below that, the next critical zone that I was watching is 9.5. I actually have a line right here around 9.5, just about there. Let me just adjust it so it's perfect. 9.5 is where this blue line is, this support, this critical level, this demand zone. And that's exactly where NIO bounced. Once it bounced, we broke up, we broke past 9.7, we broke past 10. We actually broke resistance around 10.06, which this is like the gap resistance right here. We broke it and started pushing up, showing some strength. The trend was bullish all day after that. All right. And then after NIO pushed up, remember, we were down 12%. We closed the day down 4%. NIO pushed 8% up after the big drop of the news involving Tesla and the Chinese EV market. Think about that. That's a nice move NIO actually made. And we're still at 10.3, considering that we were actually touching like 10.3, 10.5 yesterday. That's still not that far from where we were yesterday, right? Where we are right now. This tells me NIO is still showing some strength, and it's likely going to continue to push up and go for this gap fill. I believe NIO should continue to push up. It should maybe even outperform the market a bit if the market slows down. And overall, the trend is looking quite nice. All right, so I just wanted to put that out there. It's very important that we remember how this is all working. And I also want you guys to know that NIO is doing incredible still from a fundamental standpoint. All right. So is NIO going to be explosive? I don't really want to say it's going to be so explosive to the point where it goes to like 12, 13, $14 in one day. But I do believe we could make an explosive move to fill this gap in one day, or maybe within 1 to 2 days, maybe on Monday. I will do a more in-depth analysis on SPY tomorrow, but I just want to put it out there. Is NIO going to explode? It depends on what you mean by explode. If you define explode as like a 10% move in one day, that is possible. We could actually see that, but I don't really think it's going to explode that hard. I do think it's going to get a nice rally to the upside though and go for this gap fill, maybe push and try to go back to 11. It wants to get back to the 11s. I do believe NIO is going to do that, but we have to wait and see how the market responds and what else we, go for. I still believe NIO is going to do quite well despite that. So anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and Peace out.